So I'm going to talk about something that Vladimir Solovyov said, but before I do, I have to set it in context. So this is only a very short clip. It's like 46 seconds long, where Solovyov says what he's about to say. But I want to go back just a few days because we've seen Zelensky having to work really hard to blunt a narrative. And the narrative is, well, you better have peace talks with Russia. It's all over. You can't do it. It's all falling apart. And a lot of that, and this is in The Guardian just a few days ago, a lot of that stems from this Time article that really painted Zelensky in a bad way and made him look like, well, he's just nuts. He's just fixated on this thing, but you really can't win it. And so there's this narrative now that Ukraine supporters need to rethink their theory of victory that, hey, just make peace with Russia. But what happens if you really make peace with Russia? Like, where does that end? Where does that bring you? Now, so Zelensky's to the point where he's saying, look, if we do this thing, we'll just be back with a war with Russia in a few years after Russia regroups and comes back even stronger. Now, let's watch Solovyov in that light, in the context of what was said there. I'll read what he says, thanks to the Russian Media Monitor for what they do. We should be building our future with culture, with heating, and without Ukraine. Why without Ukraine? Because Ukraine, as it is, can't continue to exist. There'll be no Ukraine we've known for many years. It won't be a Ukraine any longer. When a doctor is deworming a cat, says Solovyov, for the doctor, it's a special operation. For the worms, it's a war. And for the cat, it's a cleansing. Exactly. Okay, what just happened there? So Solovyov just likened Ukrainians to the worms that are in a cat that are parasites hurting the cat. The cat, I guess, is the former glorious Russian land, and the Ukrainians on that land are like the worms infecting the former glorious Russian land. And it struck me that it's really interesting. In my master's thesis, I studied the Nazis, and really what I was looking at was the process by which you could legally make people non-legal and then kill them. Like that's the process I was looking at. So what was the legal process that accumulated over time where Jews could be killed like they were, and why did that happen? And I remember reading about doctors, Nazi doctors, that, doctors just swear the Hippocratic Oath and they're supposed to take care of people, but they started looking at killing Jews as as protecting the German state from this parasite, so to say. I mean, it was like they're cutting out the infection that's afflicting the German state. Same thing is going on here with Solovyov. So, okay. Here's another interesting thing. So Anton Gerashenko just a couple days ago put this out. Moscow today, while singing a song called "I'm Russian," a singer presses a red button in a suitcase, like the nuclear button. Like that's what he's kind of making it look like. The crowd is overjoyed. Fireworks erupt. So I'm going to play this silently for 16 seconds, except for the "I'm Russian" part. Okay, so you can see what's going on, and I'll play it when he says, "I'm Russian." So he's singing about the glories of being Russian. Okay, just watch for the suitcase. He's hitting the nuclear football, explosions, the crowd goes wild. What? Let's look at that here again. Okay, there's the explosion. He's hitting the button. Now, let me give you a comparison. So in the United States, we have a song. It's called "I'm Proud to Be an American." It's actually, the title is "God Bless the USA." But if tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I'd thank my lucky stars to be living here today because the flag still stands for freedom. And they can't take that away, right? And the verse is, "And I'm proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died that gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA," right? It's about freedom. Now, if while I was singing that song, I went and I was hitting a nuclear device because God bless the USA, and I'm hitting a nuclear, you'd think I was nuts. Well, no more should you think that I'm nuts here than we should think this is nuts. I'm Russian. Look at me. I'm pressing the nuclear button. This is part of the mindset, and that's really kind of shocking. Now, there was another post on Twitter that I thought was absolutely spot on, and this was the foreign minister of Lithuania. Our children will curse us in trenches we are digging for them. Whoa, really? Like, think about that. Our children will curse. Like, if we don't do something about this now, we're going to kick the can down the road, and this is going to affect our children who are going to have to deal with this issue. Our children will curse us in trenches we are digging for them. Lithuanian foreign minister about a peace deal. Landsbergis warns that Russia peace agreement only means time to rearm amid reports that U.S., EU are quietly initiating talks with Ukraine, reference to negotiations. Now, Landsbergis is the grandson of this guy. His name is Vatutis Landsbergis. I've actually met him. I was at a conference in the Seimas that's the Lithuanian parliament back in 2001. And yeah, so this is the guy that was the speaker of the Seimas from 1996 to 2000. And they understood what it was like to be under Russia's thumb, and that's not a place you want to go. Let's go back to Solovyov again, and I just thought it was interesting. If you just type in Ukrainian, how they think about Ukrainians. Solovyov compares Ukrainians to worms. Senator wants to beat the wrong ideas out of Ukrainian children. Russian lawmaker says 2 million Ukrainians have to die. A propagandist ponders whether Ukrainians are genetically impure. Russian expert says she has no pity for Ukrainians. Propagandists claim that the West is forcing them to kill Ukrainians. Propagandists to discuss Russia's plans toward Ukrainians. Russian Orthodox TV channel advocates genocide of Ukrainians. Pundits argue about why Ukrainians don't love them. Well, I wonder why. Why do you think Ukrainians don't love them? I mean, given everything that we know. So let's go back full circle to the beginning of this. Zelensky denies he's under pressure to enter peace talks. If he enters peace talks and gives up land for peace or sues for peace so that he can end the war prematurely, I think it's pretty fair, his position, that Russia will be back in some time to swallow them up whole in a stronger position. Can't do that. You just can't do that. And as for Solovyov, I mean, this is just, it's unbelievable that he would say what he's saying. It's for a doctor, it's a special military operation. But for the worms, it's a war. Okay, which is saying that Ukrainians are worms and they ought to be rooted out. All right, tell me what you think. Put them in the comments below. Thank you for your likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees. Thank you for caring. Thank you so much for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.